Sorry, just as we start recording, I cough. Hi, everybody. A very cold and warm welcome to our next Healthy and Empowered team call. I am so excited for tonight's speaker. I didn't even need to ask her for a bio, for an introduction, because this is a woman that's been on a journey with me for the last couple of years. Very honored to be working alongside someone that's such a powerhouse like Natalie Sutton. If this is your first time ever joining one of our calls, I want to say a massive hello to you and thank you for joining and taking the time out on your Sunday or Monday if you're in Australia. What I love about these calls is we're truly international. We have people joining us from all over the world, which is super fun because that's what Healthy and Empowered is all about. It's all about empowerment. It's all about showing people that we have a way to help you look after yourself and maximize your health so that you can live a really fantastic life with fulfillment and happiness and have purpose and a vision so that when time gets tough, you have that vision to pull you and keep you going forward. So we also have a business opportunity. So we're really all about health and empowerment through entrepreneurship, health, through fitness, mindset, and nutrition. So this week's call is going to be a little bit different to what we've done before, which is very exciting because Natalie Sutton is a trained NLP coach, but she's also recently just gone and done a Brian Main goal mapping coaching workshop. So when I heard she'd done this, I've done this once before, a couple of years ago with a dear friend of both of ours, Susie Mitchell. And can everyone just make sure they're muted, please? That would be super great. And yeah, so I did this amazing workshop, which Natalie's going to introduce us, so I won't say too much, but what I will say is I'll never forget doing this workshop and really kind of like mapping out visually what my goals might be. And we all know how important it is to have a vision. And that's why I really talk about that. So Natalie is someone, I think I've known Natalie for maybe 2.5 years now, which is super fab. We support each other and we've done events together in London. And she's someone that I know I could just talk to about anything. And I know, and I know to Natalie about anything, anywhere, and it would end with her. She's the kind of woman that you can tell all your deepest, darkest secrets to, and she wouldn't tell a soul. And that's why I have so much respect for her, really, because she is someone that I can reach out to and be coached by, but also she's incredibly teachable and she's incredibly open to new things and new ideas. And she's been crazy enough to say yes to working with me on one of my London events. So I'm very grateful for the support that she's given me. And I can't think of anyone better to help us walk through what it might be like to map out our goals for our future and to think about what 2018 might bring for us, right? So what a fantastic way to start off with December as Team Healthy and Empowered to really show you all exactly what it is, how we plan on making our life really incredible in 2018, really live a life with no regrets and really live a life with purpose. So I'm going to hand you over to Natalie and really I'm just going to let you rock with it, Natalie. I don't know if you want to share your story first, how we met and how you found your journey. So FYI, me and Natalie met through the incredible company Juice Plus. She's also an ambassador. We're in the same team, but we're sidelines. So that's how we met. So I don't know if first, Natalie, you want to share your story with the product and the business and how you found it and why you still stick around now after a couple of years like me. And then I'm just going to let you rock with it, really, because I'm so excited myself to hear all about this.
Totally.
Thanks so much for doing it.
Oh, pleasure. And thanks for inviting me. So as Tash said, I've probably been in the business working alongside Tash for about the same amount of time. And actually, I got into complementary therapies and nutrition when I found out that my eldest son was being diagnosed a few years ago with dyslexia, dyspraxia, ADD, and memory issues. And so I got very much into complementary therapies. It's why I trained in NLP. I wanted to know how the brain works. I wanted to help him with his self-esteem. I wanted to help him to be able to learn. But one of the crucial things I looked at was nutrition and the power of whole food. And to cut a long story short, I got very into juicing as a way of getting extra fruits and veg into the system in a kind of easy format. And I used to follow Jason Bale and Joe Cross and all of those and plow my vegetables through my juicer every day. I still hate cleaning my juicer with an absolute passion. And to cut a long story short, I was on a juicing retreat. I was that into my juicing. in Portugal about 3 years ago when I met Dr. Susie Mitchell, who Tash referenced earlier. Susie is a psychotherapist and an NLP coach as well. She's a Tony Robbins trainer, a former nurse, and she introduced me to the Juice Plus product. And at first, I have to say, I was really quite skeptical because I was such a devoted, juicer, and I was a little bit snobby, actually, a little bit too cool for school. I just kind of thought you should just eat it, just eat the food. And but do you know what? Because when the adults buy, the children get a supply for free. I've got a husband and 2 sons. I thought, you know what? If this does work, then it's a stroke of genius, because this is going to be way easier and cost effective than juicing. It doesn't change my healthy eating and cooking habits. I'm absolutely passionate about cooking for my family. But in terms of giving a baseline of good health to my family every day, if it does work, and I was very skeptical that it would, then happy days. So I was prepared to give it a go. And I really only joined the business on what we call the family plan, because I wanted to buy quite a few of the products. I just wanted to get the discount, basically. And but after a while of sort of sitting in the team Facebook group and kind of looking at all this bloody positivity everywhere, and everybody being really supportive of each other and raising each other up, and that, I'm sort of sat in my corporate job. I'm a PR consultant. I've worked for myself. Have a sort of small PR consultancy. Have done for about 14 years, but desperately always wanted to be doing coaching and helping people. You know when you get to that point where your job just doesn't light you up like it used to. So actually, all of a sudden, Susie helped me paint a picture of actually how my life could change. And one of the things that she does do, and Susie, who used to be our upline, now runs Juice Plus in the UK. So we're so connected. But one of the things she does for our teams for free, which is absolutely phenomenal, is these goal mapping workshops. And she uses the Brian Main system, and this is something that I've now trained and qualified to do as well, because it's a kind of natural progression to coaching. It's absolutely brilliant for mentoring our team. There are lots of goal mapping systems out there. I love the Brian Main one best because it helps you use your right and left brain. And that's what we're going to scoot through today. Ordinarily, this is kind of a half day or a full day workshop. And so actually, if you experience this in the team, you'll get like a half day experience. But we're going to scoot through the kind of main principles of it, just to give you a flavour. And then we'll finish up with the 7 empowering questions. And you should find these really quite interesting. I think it's really nice every now and then to just take some time out for ourselves and just get really clear on what makes our heart sing, what it is we really want to do. So let's kick off. So why do we set goals? I think when I speak to people about goals and vision boards and all that sort of stuff, people kind of go, yeah. They kind of think they know all about it, but there was a study done in, I think it was 1979 at Harvard University. And I'm just going to scoot through the top line findings here because I think it illustrates a really good point. That they took an entire class and they asked them one simple question. Have you set clear written goals for your future and made plans to accomplishment? So basically, it was their MBA program, and they found that 84% had set no specific goals at all. 13% had goals they'd not committed to paper, they'd not actually written them down. And only 3% had clear written goals and plans to accomplish them. And then what they did 10 years later, they interviewed the same graduates of that class to kind of see where they were at. And the 13% of the class who had goals were earning on average twice as much as the 84% who had no goals at all. And even more staggering, the 3% who had clear written goals were earning on average 10 times as much as the other 97% put together. So I like to sort of reference that, and go ahead and Google it. You'll find it online, just because it can show what a huge difference it can make. And it's, I should make it clear, for me, setting goals is not about how much you can earn. It's not just, although, that might be the case for a lot of us, right? For some people, goals are around fitness or family life or happiness or your own well-being or, whatever. But I think, we can all agree that actually having goals and writing them down can be absolutely incredible. And I know from having done this workshop with other people that I've actually uncovered things that I didn't know I wanted and then have felt great when I've achieved them. And sometimes it's the really small stuff that just makes you really, really happy. So I hope you've got, I should have said at the beginning, I hope you've got a notepad and pen because later on we're going to write some of this stuff down, right? So I'm just going to do, scoot you through some of the sort of main principles. Is that all okay with everybody? Give me a little thumbs up if that's all okay. Jolly good. So the reason I think goals are so important in this day and age is because actually we live in a world that is changing really rapidly, really a lot. And, the way we work is changing, the way we learn is changing, the way we communicate and socialize and shop, technology playing a huge part of this. The world is globalizing. So actually, one of the things that people fear most is change. And what they fear most about change is uncertain change. And, whilst we know that we actually can't stop things from happening around us, like we can't influence stuff that's going to happen, do you know what I mean? What we can do is change the way we feel about what happens. So you're probably familiar with, the sort of saying that you can't change the strength or the direction of the wind. All you can do is adjust your sails to make the best of the course. So, change is an absolute certain in this day and age. And so goals become, really important because they can become beacons of light that give us direction and a place to head towards, and actually helps us deal with change, a lot more easy. And I really, really, really believe that actually having goals is more important than achieving goals. Does that make sense? Because actually, it doesn't matter if you never get to that thing you thought you wanted. The point is how you felt about it on the journey, and actually feeling confident and certain that you know where you're going. And there's actually this is more than about just like manifestation boards where you're just going to stick some pictures on a piece of card and hope that stuff happens. There is actually a real physiological thing that happens when we set goals and when we think positively, because obviously our brain is around 100 billion cells, and each one of these cells in our brain has these little arms coming off of them called dendrites. And in between each cells, all the cells and the dendrites, is what they call a synaptic gap. I'm not going to bore you with with all of the science, but basically, we're all familiar with the fact that when we think sad, negative thoughts, our body produces. I don't know if any of you know the name of it. The sort of sad hormone, cortisol. So when we think sad thoughts, and we can all sit here now and do that, as soon as we start thinking sad things, our brains start producing cortisol. When we think happy thoughts, our brain starts to release serotonin, the happy hormone, yeah? And that has a very physiological, can have an effect on all of our body. But importantly, serotonin is a conductor in the synaptic gap. So actually, it helps your brain cells connect and create a train of thought. Does that make sense? Whereas cortisol actually blocks the train of thought because it actually becomes an inhibitor between the dendrites of the brain cells. Serotonin does the exact opposite. It acts as a conductor between the arms of the brain cells and helps you have thoughts. So this is really important because our thoughts become our beliefs, become our behaviors, become our actions, become our outcomes. So actually, if you start with a negative thought, you start to sort of have negative beliefs, then you do negative behaviors, and actually the negative outcome underlines the negative thought you had in the first place. So it kind of reinforces the negative. And obviously the positive has the opposite effect. And when we're in a state of fear, our lymph system shuts down. And that can affect everything from your muscles and all sorts. You'll know that if anybody here knows anyone who has a fear of public speaking, for example, you'll know that quite often you can have a really physiological response to that, that fear, like your mouth dries up, your body goes tense, you can't breathe properly. And exercise is the easiest way to burn off that stress and cortisone. So basically, thinking negatively blocks the flow of thought, which results in seeing more of the problem and feeling like giving up. Thinking positively releases the chemicals and creates the brain cell connections, which turn into new ideas and creates answers. It creates possibilities, yeah? And goal mapping helps us activate that whole brain thinking and helps you hold positive thoughts about what you want to achieve. Because when you've got a goal, you are always focusing your mind on where you want to go. And this is quite interesting because, if you ever have read anything about how your subconscious mind works and how it directs you in every single way, you'll know that your subconscious mind is waiting for instruction. So if you don't give it a proactive, positive instruction, it will just go to your nearest dominant thought. So whatever that dominant thought might be. So that if that dominant thought is negative, that's the direction that your subconscious mind is going to take. So there's something quite important here in terms of achievement. And again, this can be achievement in career, in your earnings, in your job, but it can equally be, goals in terms of family life or your fitness, like I say. And so when we think about, let's talk about the work situation as a good example. You can have lots of applicants turn up, to do the same job, and they might have exactly the same technical skills and training, technical knowledge and skills training as each other, yet some will exceed and some not so much. In fact, I think there's a statistic about, about 2 in 5 will excel and one will be average, and 2 will be below average, something like that. So what is it that makes the difference? And actually a lot of the social science points towards it being 3 things: that drive, attitude, and confidence. And so it's almost like, if you can imagine you're riding a bike, and your knowledge and skills are the back wheel, and perhaps getting along with people and stuff is the front wheel, that bike is completely useless unless you've got drive. And the only thing that affects that drive is who's riding the bike. And it's that ability that gives you sort of forward momentum. So it's about having a purpose and doing things on purpose, because actually if you have a purpose, particularly if that purpose is bigger than you, so think outside of yourself and move towards something that's way bigger than you, it will give you way more momentum than if you do something that's from within you, if you know what I mean. So basically, you may feel sort of uncomfortable or self-conscious, and if you don't have purpose, sometimes that can diminish your ability to actually get on and do things. So excuse me. And actually sometimes that winning edge can be quite a small percentage of difference. And on an average, we all have the ability to improve ourselves, our skills, our abilities by about 3 to 4% of a period over 12 months. And actually, when you think about this, perhaps in a sports performance kind of, in a horse race, the difference between the horse that comes first and the horse that comes second, third, fourth, fifth is sometimes only a fraction of a second. So that, actually, if you can improve yourself by 3 to 4%, that difference can really make the difference. That difference is the difference that makes the difference. So the smallest improvements in ourselves can make the biggest difference in our life. So when we apply this principle to ourselves as individuals, it dictates that about 20% of what we do makes about 80% of the difference in our lives. And by setting goals around our top 20% activities, we're able to make a lot more progress. So, excuse me. A little bit hoarse, sorry. So I'm going to scoot through, a handful of things, and then we'll get to those kind of 7, principal questions. So firstly, I would encourage you to raise your easy for me to say, raise your awareness. So whatever your decision you need to make, whatever challenge you want to overcome, whatever goal you might wish to achieve, raising your awareness will be, the first step towards it. So, whatever you've got in mind at the moment, and it might be something that you're thinking about working with, whether it's, your business or your health or whatever, take some time to explore your paradigms around things. Your paradigms are basically a set of ideas, aren't they? We create internal thoughts and pictures and understandings around things, and then project them onto the world around us, right? Basically, every time we experience something, it goes through our own personal filter, and our own personal filter, has arrived through our personal experiences that we've had the whole way around life. So maybe, jot these down very quickly. What is your current paradigm of yourself? What do you think about yourself? What are your pattern of thoughts about yourself? For example, I've written on a really old gold map here, stuck. That's the word I've used. What's your paradigm around your life? On this old one I've got here, I've put changing. And what's your paradigm about the world? And interestingly, I think these 2 last ones are probably the most interesting ones to look at tonight. What are your paradigms around success? And what are your paradigms around failure? Because my paradigms around success, first time I did this was when I think of success, I think of acknowledgement and reward. When I think about failure, I think about punishment and pain. How helpful is that? Because actually, if I can flip my thinking, because actually, when I look at this goal map I did like 2-3 years ago, my paradigm around failure now is completely different. My paradigm around failure now is about learning. Every failure is an opportunity to learn, something new, to learn from a mistake, to take that experience, flip it round and see the positive in it. So raise your awareness about what your paradigms are. And it might be you explore your paradigms around, being slim. Being slim, what does that mean? It means deprivation. Or it means, just ask yourself those questions, because actually having that awareness around it is really interesting, because once you have that awareness, it's kind of the first step towards being able to do something about it. The second principle is to develop a possibility consciousness. So your paradigm is the picture you observe life through and reflects your level of awareness. This requires you to develop a possibility consciousness, or have an open mind and consider all possibilities. So too often people approach a situation with a very fixed mindset that something definitely is or definitely is not possible because that's the way it was in the past. It's kind of like, I tried that before, it didn't work, so it's never going to work again. But the past and the present do not equal the future. The future is unwritten, the future is evolving, and it always exists in infinite possibilities. By developing an open-minded approach, we can capture that highest opportunity. And developing that possibility consciousness is really important. Have you ever noticed, here's the example. You've ever noticed, you're thinking of getting a new car, and you go and look at a particular model, maybe a particular colour, and then all of a sudden, everywhere you go, that model and that colour car, you just see it everywhere. That's because you've just created yourself a new dominant thought, and it just, your reticular activated system, that's part of your brain, is sending those commands to your sort of conscious mind. So we don't really see the reality of life as it truly is. We kind of see it through our own filter, as I sort of said before. And so we just kind of have to have awareness of that and realize that we can, produce a new possibility consciousness way of doing things. The third principle is to find balance, because success and balance kind of go hand in hand. Have you ever noticed that sometimes when things aren't going quite right, it's because there's a balance in a particular area of your life, and you can actually plot yourself a bit of a life wheel, if you like, bit like that, where you put kind of 0 in the middle, number 10 at the outside, and on each spoke you can plot yourself where you are with your mental, emotional, physical, financial, social, and spiritual life, and give yourself a score from 1 to 10. Just kind of mark a little dot where you think, I think I'm a number 5 on my spiritual. So that's mental, emotional, physical, financial. These are all the areas of life, really, aren't they? Social and spiritual. And just observe your wheel and just notice if there's one area that's particularly low. Obviously, what we don't do is, sorry, shall I hold that a bit closer? Let me. So if you've got one area that's a little bit under, it doesn't mean that you failed. It's not a reason to beat yourself up. It just means that it's a great opportunity to say, oh, do you know what? If my physical body, and this is my particular journey at the moment, right? This is, hand on heart. When I sort of do these workshops, it's not because I'm perfect. I'm totally on this journey as well. So, this is a realization I've had in the last few months, that actually my physiology, my physical body hurts with various injuries I've got, which affects my ability to exercise, which affects my waistline, which affects the way I show up in my life. It affects the way I show up in my business. It affects the way I show up in my life. So actually doing this plot, mental, emotional, physical, financial, spiritual, mental, emotional, physical, financial, social, spiritual. So it's social you're missing. Affects the way I show up in my business, right? So sometimes we need to find balance in those key areas of our lives in order to move forward. The fourth principle is to be on purpose. And purpose to a person is like fuel to an engine. Without it, we don't really end up going anywhere. So everyone can find a sense of purpose on their life. And when we live with purpose, we really find our passion, our power, our flow. We know how it's going to be, how it needs to be. It's when we're not on purpose that everything just seems to be a bit of a chore and a bit of a drag. So some of the questions I'm going to ask in a minute is going to help us, find that sense of purpose. A person without a definite purpose in life is more handicapped than the most disadvantaged or disabled, as Leslie Fugel would say. So purpose, goal, and motivation are different points on the same thread. Purpose is a path, goals are milestones, and motivation is your reason to make the journey. Principle 5 is to become fully response able. So not responsible, but response able. And, with our own thoughts, we're able to shape our world. And thought is always the first point of our creation. Everything starts as an idea. Do you know what I mean? When you change the way you think about everything about you will change. Learning to choose a positive response to a negative situation, as we talked about earlier, allows you to find the opportunity in difficult situations. So it's not what happens that makes the big difference. It's how you respond that makes the big difference. And so actually, when we become response able, I guess this is about knowing that no matter what happens, I'm a bit hoarse because of the partying I did last night. No matter what happens, you've got the resources to be able to cope with it, right? I've sort of had some examples just recently, and I think, do you know what? It doesn't, that stuff happened. It doesn't really matter. I've been on this planet for 47 years. I'm still fighting. I'm still here. And, no matter what happens, you have internal resources to be able to cope with whatever is thrown at you. And the beauty of positive thinking is taking ownership, that it is your responsibility, that you just don't go, blaming other people. So, some people believe that the way they are is the way they are and there's nothing they can do about it. And some even argue for their weaknesses and list the reasons they can't change, the reasons they can't improve. Oh, it's in my genes, it's my upbringing, it's my environment. That stuff's all holding me back. But these things, no matter how strong, are only ever influences in our lives. They don't determine us. We always have the ability to improve ourselves and influence our lives. And there might be times like, when our physical options are limited. It's certainly been my case. I suffer with bad back and stuff. But we always have the freedom to choose our mental and emotional response. We can choose our outlook. We can choose our attitude. And I can sort of, look on my little chart and say, right, my physical body really affects me. What can I do about it? I can go to yoga, and that's what I do. So when you become response-able, which is actually, when you think about it, it's how the word is spelt. So that's actually what the word means. Because I always think, like, when you hear the word responsible, it's like, that always takes me back to my childhood when I'm about to get told off. Who's responsible for this mess? That's not actually the meaning of the word. Actually break it down, it's response-able. And when you take responsibility, your mind becomes inspired. Your emotions become motivating. Your behaviour has purpose. Your habits are empowering. And you can constantly design your life. And any justification or blame can flip and become feedback and learning. Do you know what I mean? And the next principle is about maintaining a positive focus. And, we know that our subconscious mind is amazing and kind of operates like an autopilot or servant to your conscious thinking. And like I touched on earlier, it's goal orientated and it's always looking for a target. So if you don't give it one, like I say, it will default to your most dominant thought. So if you're wandering around all day going, my back hurts, my back hurts, my back hurts, or it's raining, it's probably going to rain some more, whatever, then you can imagine how your day's going to pan out, because your thoughts, you will create your reality. There is one vital thing that your subconscious mind cannot do. It cannot make value judgments. It can't choose for itself. So making choices or judgments is the task of your conscious mind. So, your thinking mind. Subconscious must obey whatever choice or goal you set it. So, your subconscious mind isn't going, oh no, I'm not going to do that. It's literally, it will fall in line with what the commands that your conscious mind gives it. But if you don't consciously set that goal, then your subconscious will automatically take your dominant thought as its command. Yeah. So beware. So, whether that's positive or negative, that's going to be the goal command that your subconscious is going to work with. And worrying about what you don't want or fear is like setting a negative goal. So if you wander around in a kind of state of fear or fight and flight day, that is like setting a negative goal. And you'll probably be aware of this, that, as you've ever driven somewhere in the car and kind of got there by autopilot. I mean, not literally autopilot, but you suddenly turned up and go, oh, I don't remember how I got there. Your subconscious mind has taken you there because it has a well-formed pathway, because it's something that you've done and you've repeated over and over again. Like you've driven to your mum's house 1 billion times and, you headed off in that direction and your subconscious mind just took you there. Do you know what I mean? So your subconscious mind is always seeking a target. Your subconscious does not make value judgments. Worry is a negative goal setting exercise. In the absence of a goal, your subconscious will automatically select your most dominant thought. So command your subconscious by setting a compelling goal. And principle 7 is about involving to involve. Very few people achieve great things entirely on their own. You will always need the sort of help and support of other people. And it's never been easier to benefit from the knowledge, experience and wisdom accumulated by others. I mean, you've only got to browse, YouTube for that. And actually one of the principles we teach in NLP coaching is to model success. You've probably heard of this, not necessarily to copy someone, because, if you move out of your own authenticity and just try and copy someone verbatim, that might not always work, and it might not feel right either. But model success. What are the habits and behaviors of successful people? The most successful people in the world model successful people. And in terms of how they manage their time, how they start their day, perhaps, do they have daily rituals, how they educate their mind, they expand themselves, get outside their comfort zone, all of those sorts of things. And that does also mean, turning to yourself in order to evolve, and understanding and accessing your own inner wisdom, which is what we're going to go to in a minute. So we're going to move on to asking those 7 empowering questions. So you will need to grab your pens and papers in a minute. But I'm just going to take you through some fundamentals of goal setting. In the full workshop, we would actually go through this in a lot more detail, and we would actually get down to writing out your goals in a proper template, and then drawing them out in a picture format. And the reason we do that is because obviously when we do things like drawing, we use our right brain. When we do things like writing, we're using our left linear brain. When we do things like drawing, we use our right brain. So you've got this like whole brain thing going on. So we've got 7 important things about achieving your goal. Firstly, believe in your goal, believe in yourself. Decide that they are true and just stop questioning. And that makes, a constant command to your subconscious. We know that we can literally build neural pathways in our brain. The more times you have that same positive thought, the more times you reinforce the goals that you set yourself, it's like, oh, that brain cell needs to talk to that brain cell. And the more you do it, the stronger that connection becomes. Do you know what I mean? I always think of it as, if this is the field, and I'm here, and I've got to go and see my friend Lucy over here. If I take a route that way one day, and a route that way that day, and a route that way the next day, I'm going to be all over the place. But if I took that route every day, a path will get worn down, yeah? And then it becomes the quickest and most automatic route that my brain will take. Make your goals purely personal. When you can't set goals for other people. You might like to. I do. I certainly try to with my children. But your goals have to be entirely personal, and don't let other people set your goals for you either. Other people can help you get to your goals. If you decide what you want, obviously people can mentor you to help you sort of define what that looks like and stuff, but you are the only one who can achieve your goals. And you have to be personally responsible for those commands and all that sort of thing. You might want to balance your goals. So rather than having just one big fat work one, you might want to have something in there that's got a little bit about family and well-being or health or whatever, because happiness and balance, happiness, peace of mind, is going to make it all way more sort of effective. That said, excuse me, it's my milk fighting back. You can create goals and then create like sub goals, and I've got a goal map for I've got a big mothership goal map. I've got a goal map for my business. I've got a goal map for my health. I've got a goal map for my holidays. And so there's nothing to stop you from creating, lots of goal maps. Live in the moment. So everything in life happens like now. And so one of the other important things to do is to state your goals in the present tense, because if you program your brain to say they're always in the future, they're never happening now, then that's not helpful either. So when you actually come to write this down, state it in the present tense, like I am working towards my whatever certification, my yoga teacher certification, whatever it might be. Not I would like to be be a yoga teacher. Do you know what I mean? And always, always, always make your goals positive. So bad goal, I want to lose weight. That's expressed in a negative frame. But good goal, I am slimmer and healthier and living a better lifestyle. Do you know what I mean? So express it in positive language. So, if you say, I don't want to be sad, or I don't want to smoke anymore, that's expressed in a negative statement. But you might actually want to say, I'm happy, I'm healthy, I'm free, whatever it might be. And obviously allow a little bit of lag time. So, you know what you want, and you know that it might take time to work towards it. So, are you ready? Should we do some empowering questions? So I don't know if you want to write these down or if you just want to write the answers, but I'll give you a couple of minutes between each of them. So to live your dream life, first of all, you've got to have a dream. And learning what you really want is one of the most important lessons we can do. And so I've got 7 questions here, and they're designed really to help you become clearer in what it is that really makes your heart sing. Don't deliberate over it too much. Literally just write down the first things that come, because quite often they're the most profound. So question number 1, if you won £1 million on the lottery, what would you do differently in your life? If you won £1 million on the lottery, what would you do differently in your life? You might what type of home are you living in? Who's there with you in terms of people? What kind of work might you be engaging with? If you won £1 million on the lottery, what would you do differently in your life? And you can just jot down some bullet points. Everyone deep in thought there. Okay, question number 2. If you only had 6 months to live, but could live in perfect health for this period, what would you do differently with your time? If you only had 6 months to live, but you were going to be in perfect health, what would you do differently with your time? Who are you being as a person, perhaps? How do you feel about yourself? What activities are you doing every day? Question number 3. What have you always wanted to do, but have maybe been afraid to attempt? What have you always wanted to do, but have maybe been afraid to attempt? Think big. Go large. Maybe you wanted to write that book. Maybe you wanted to jump off a bungee bridge thing. What have you always wanted to do, but have maybe been afraid to attempt? Number 4, if you could be granted any one skill or ability, what would you choose? If you could be granted any one skill or ability, what would you choose? Number 5, what gives you the greatest feelings of pleasure and satisfaction? Keep it clean. What gives you the greatest feelings of pleasure and satisfaction? Number 6, what legacy would you like to leave? So how do you want to be remembered? Once you're gone, what do you want to leave behind? What legacy would you like to leave? How do you want to be remembered? And finally, what one great achievement would you dare to dream for yourself if you knew you were guaranteed success? What one great achievement would you dare to dream for yourself if you knew you were guaranteed success? Because whatever you can conceive and believe, you can work towards and ultimately achieve, of course. What one great achievement would you dare to dream for yourself if you knew you were guaranteed success? And then just take a look at your answers and ask yourself if your life and the way you're living it is in harmony with your answers. Because there is a simple and ancient truth that nobody ever became truly successful by doing something that he or she doesn't enjoy. And so your answers will have come from your heart and will point the way to your purpose. And like we said, when your purpose is big and fat and strong and clear, it's very, very motivating and inspiring. So it's about finding that thing that makes your heart sing and then finding a way to work with it. And then finally, we're just going to take 1 minute to just sit quietly and get those goals down. So if you want, just you can put your pen down for a second and just relax and sit in a comfortable position with your back straight and your feet on the floor if you can. And close your eyes if you want. Take a deep breath in through your nose. Wait for a moment before breathing out slowly through your mouth while saying the word to yourself, relax, relax, relax. Now take another deep breath as before, in through your nose, then slowly out through your mouth. This time saying the word, I am, I am, I am. Once more now, a deep breath in, breathing out while I'm saying within, within, within. Relax, I am, within. Give yourself permission to completely relax and imagine yourself strolling along a beautiful sandy seashore. The clear blue sky above you, trees gently sway in a warm breeze, and soft waves ripple along the shoreline. Your attention is suddenly drawn to a small blue bottle poking from the sand. As you pick it up, the top comes open, and to your amazement, there appears a large, blue, shining-eyed genie. The genie says, "Your wish is my command. Anything you truly desire, I will grant. Any thought you hold in your heart, I will help you achieve. I want you now to take yourself forward in time, knowing you have the power to create your life exactly as you choose it to be." What does success look like for you? What activities make up your day? What type of home are you living in? Who are the people that really matter to you? What kind of work do you choose to engage with? What difference are you making with your life? Who are you being as a person, and how do you feel about yourself? Whatever you conceive and believe, you can work towards and achieve. So close your eyes to visualize for a moment, and when you're ready, return to the present, bringing with you any insight, intentions, or desires that empower you. And when you open your eyes, quickly capture your goals on your notepad. So as you open your eyes, just capture all the things that you were just thinking about on your notepad, and just write down just what some of those goals might be. You might have had goals around travel, work-life balance, career, health, well-being, success, family. Whatever came to mind, write down the things that came to you first. Take this time to just capture those goals. I expect all of you will take different amounts of time to do that, so do carry on and keep writing if you want to. But once you've actually written that list, take a moment to sort of look at what you've got, because sometimes you might have kind of 8, 10 or more kind of goals written down. These are my bullet points from a very old goal map. And just notice, is there one goal on there that if you achieve that one, it would help you achieve some of your others? Does that make sense? And if there is, then identify that as your main goal. So for example, you might have had one on there around doing some personal development or training. And it's actually, or if I got myself into a good space, for example, for me, to get myself physically fit is my lead goal. Because once I've done that, it'll help me achieve everything else. That will bring balance. And that's us done a whole hour on goals. Woohoo! So normally at this point, we would go ahead and write down a goal map and then draw a goal map. But as I said, I've just tried to condense and squeeze as much into an hour as I possibly can. So I'm going to wind it up there because some of you want to go to bed, I'm sure. And if there's any guests on the line that think, actually, I'd like to go ahead and create my goal map, I'd like to see the templates or whatever, go ahead and get back to the person that invited you to the call, and we'll make that happen for you. I'll wrap it up there and back over to Tash.
Awesome. Oh my God, that was so fun. So I'm actually in the gym. Yes. And I stopped doing my workout to answer all your questions because I just thought, I can't. I have to answer these questions because they were popping off in my head anyway, and I was listening anyway, and I thought, I'm going to do it. So the only thing I didn't do was write down all my goals at the end. So I'm going to do that again. We'll look back and have a think about that because that was really, really amazing. I don't know about you guys, but I feel really ready for what's about to come for my next year. I'm super excited, and I'm so grateful, Natalie, for you doing that for us. And it was like, there were so many ideas going up in my head, and I just don't know if I would have been able to do that without a goal mapping session. So I've obviously done goal mapping before, but you know what I really want to say to you all as well is that if you want this, we've got this recorded, we will get this on YouTube and we'll make it public so you can all go and look at it. What I will say to you is that it's really important to make repetition is the mother of all skill. It's really important to understand that. So even though I've done this before, it's about time I did it again. Do you know what I mean? And me and Natalie are going to join up and do some physical goal mapping events in London, and I can't wait to do another goal map for myself because it's really important to make sure that you repeat what you want in your life. Plus your goals change all the time. If I think about the start of this year for me, oh my God, my goals were so different. If I think about pick up on you said, Natalie, about the fitness thing, I think just about that. At the start of the year, I wanted to be skinny because that's what I thought was going to make me into the best model. I wanted to be skinny, like really skinny. And then as the year went on, I thought I was still, being skinny and just doing pure HIIT sessions. And then it got to kind of like September, and I was like, actually, you know what? I'd really like a good ass. Like, I share this with you guys because it's funny. Like, it's funny to talk about that with people, right? But it's the truth. I was like, actually, I want a good ass. And if I'm skinny, truth is, I might have an alright ass, but I'm not going to have the best ass in the world. And I really want a good ass. So for me, it came way much more about, thinking about my next goals. And all of a sudden, my goals completely changed. And, now I train heavy weights again. And I'm thinking about what I want for my body next time. And every week, my body goals change because I want to get better and I want to grow and I want to improve. So I just want to say thanks so much, Natalie, for as well being so relatable within your whole teaching. There were so many things that you said that made me think, oh, she just made that really more realistic for me. So the fact that you brought it back to your main goal being the fact that you need to be fit, it's really important for me because I'd say mine was probably like, I'm definitely fit, but am I healthy all the time? Probably not. Like, I had pizza today. So like it's, like not the healthiest thing in the world. So yeah, thank you, Natalie, for being so teachable, for allowing us to be taught by you, but also showing how teachable you are, because you realise that sometimes you might have to start with something what people might call simple, but actually fitness can be really freaking hard. I just want to ask one final time, does anyone have any questions? If not, then I will say that next week we have Eliana, my dear friend from Tenerife. Well, she's actually from Italy, but she lives in Tenerife now, and I spent 2 weeks with her in summer. She's amazing. She's going to be sharing on our call next week, and that's going to be more business training. So I'm really excited to do that with you all. Natalie, you and your whole team are more than welcome on that. It's the same Zoom number and the same time every single week, every Sunday. We do a different training call, and we have different speakers from all over the world. A lot of the time from the JP community, because I'm so inspired by so many leaders in that world that it just makes sense. But yeah, you and your team are always welcome to join. And do please make sure whoever invited you to this call today, you get back to the person that invited you and just let them know how it was. Let them know what you thought first and foremost. I'd love to know what you liked best, because, this is something that we only started these kind of calls a couple of months ago. So we're still trying to figure out what works best. Personally, this is probably one of my favorite ones, if not my favorite, because I feel like we've had the most value. And I feel like we have all grown, and you hopefully, like, you've all done what I've done, which is see that this is not something that can just help one aspect of your life, but every aspect of your life. And I think that's very important when you think about this is perfect timing, you know, end of the year, 2018 is coming. Did you achieve what you want to achieve in 2017? Or do you live a little bit in regret that you didn't work harder? My only regret is that I didn't work harder, and I worked hard this year, but that's my only regret, because you could always work harder, right? I don't regret anything I said to anybody. I went through a lot of pain, a lot of heartbreak, a lot of aching this year, and self-healing, and really a lot of self-loathing for myself. And the reason I'd be so real and finish this call with you is because I want you all to know, and I know a lot of you follow me on social media, I want you all to know that I try and be as honest and real as I can, because I'm very aware that by being that person that I am, hopefully that can inspire you all to really love and value and respect yourself too. So we all change, we all grow, but you have to look back at your year and look at it, see what you learned, see what you did well, see what you didn't do so well, and how can you make that better? And that's how I really hope you all roll into 2019 in a really amazing sense of, you know, pride of what you've done this year, but, you know, a reality of what you could have done better, and how can you work on that next year. So I want to say thank you again so much, Natalie. We are so, so, so grateful. Anything I can ever do for you and your team, please just let me know, because I'm there in a heartbeat.
Always, sister.
Always. Okay, smile. I'm going to take a picture. Oh, I just clicked the wrong button. Sorry. Polly and me, we're still figuring each other out. Oh no, I did it again. Sorry, everyone. Sorry. Okay, final time. Sorry. I'm trying, okay? Okay, finally, I got it, guys. Whew. Okay.
I do have one question.
Yes?
So how often should you be redoing these, would you say?
I really hate the word should. As a coach, when people go should, it's like, I did my first goal map at Susie's, you know, workshops, probably like 2.5 years ago or something. I actually drove to Manchester for the pleasure. And then I found that I achieved my main goal actually quite quickly, because I had kind of uncovered what it was, and then I wanted to make my next one. But, you know, like I said, sometimes you can have multiple goal maps. You know, when you actually get to the stage of writing one out and drawing a picture version, you know, I keep my up-to-date one by my bed, and so that it's the first thing I see when I get up in the morning. Or, you know, I used to have it on my phone as my screensaver. But you can have multiple goal maps, different things. So, you know, don't have multiple goal maps for the same things, but by all means have more than one goal map for different things. You might have one for your health, you might have one for work or career or whatever. So just update them when you feel like, because quite often you'll know when you get there, you know, on this here you've got a timeline of when you want to achieve it by and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, just update it when you feel that it has either lost its relevance or you kind of got there because your goals have changed or whatever. Does that answer the question okay, Chloe?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, guys, thank you so much. Thank you for taking this time out on your Sunday evening. We are so grateful. And I really hope you've all learned something new, and have a really good evening, good day, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Tell someone about this call, send it on to someone, because you never know who it could help. We'll get it onto YouTube ASAP, okay? Lots of love. Peace out.
Bye.
Bye.